guys, what's up? Welcome back here to today's edition of Advanced Bass Fishing, and really appreciate you guys checking out today's video and spending some of your day with me here. We're going to be talking about reel retrieves in today's video, guys, the different type of retrieves that you have to use on different lure categories to generate strikes, because I think when you're talking about retrieves, a lot of people think about a fast retrieve, a slow retrieve, or a medium retrieve. But there's a lot of different type of retrieves I want to go over in today's video based upon the lure category that you're using, and also based upon other variables like your water clarity, water temperature. So this is one of those instructional videos that's really going to help you guys out here in the long run. So it's one of those type of videos that gets you, it allows you to make a big leap in your bass fishing success over just like a little incremental levels. So I think you guys are really going to like it. And also, guys, if you are looking for a bait cast reel, guys, I just like to invite you to check out this new Lews Custom Pro, man. I've been using this thing for a couple weeks now. Absolutely love it. It's got 11 ball bearings, super smooth, nice star drag system, great braking system, super attractive reels, you can see. I'll put this in my Tackle Warehouse link in the description if you guys would like to order one of them, but I've really been happy with it. Just really a high quality reel at a really good price there. Also, guys, before we get started, thank you very much for everybody that's taken time to check out and subscribe to to Advanced Bass Fishing. All you guys that have taken advantage of being a member of Advanced Bass Fishing, and just really appreciate that. And if you haven't had a chance to hit that subscribe button, I'd like to invite you guys to do that here. Okay, lure retrieves, type of retrieves that you want to use, let's sort of go over them a little bit. Now, when you're talking about retrieves, you're talking about, let's talk out, for example, for a slow retrieve. A slow retrieve can be something as like barely creeping it like that, or just something, like this. There's variations to a slow retrieve, and the same with a medium retrieve. Medium can be, just something about like that. And then you have a fast retrieve, which is something that you're really, putting a lot of pressure on, you're reeling it pretty fast. Now, there are applications for every one of those scenarios in bass fishing. And then you also have different type of retrieves other than like a straight, say you got a straight medium retrieve, you can have a medium stop and go retrieve with it like that. You can have like a medium stop and pull. You can have a medium jerk retrieve. You can have a medium shake and retrieve. There's a lot of different types of actions that you can put on a bait based upon how you retrieve that reel. Now, that's something that you can experiment with. Every single lure category has a little niche that works into. Say, for example, jerkbait fishing in the wintertime. I like to use, just a jerk, and I'll pull with it like that, like a jerk, pull, medium retrieve. Sometimes with different crankbaits. Sometimes with a spinner bait, I'll just reel erratic retrieve just like that. So I don't really want to get into the variations of imparting action on a lure with the stop and goes. I want to talk more about a slow retrieve, a medium retrieve, and a fast retrieve when you want to use it. Okay, now a lot of this has to do with the lure category itself, because some lures are inherently made to be fished at a slow retrieve, and others are made to be fished at a fast retrieve. And others, it can go either way, just depending upon how you want to do it. There are some lures out there that do not work good on certain retrieves. Say for example, if you're throwing a square bill crankbait. A square bill crankbait does not work very good on a slow retrieve. Or a lipless crankbait does not work very good on a super slow retrieve. Those baits need something more like a medium retrieve to actually get them to wobble, to get the action to generate the strike. Because if you try to fish certain lure categories like a lipless crankbait or a square bill or something like that with a super slow retrieve, you're not going to get any action out of it. But you want that action that's created by a little bit faster retrieve. There are other lure categories out there that you have to use a fast retrieve to actually generate a strike. Maybe like when you're burning a spinner bait across the surface, or burning a lipless crankbait, or burning some type of a shallow crankbait. So it depends on the lure category that you're using. And in some baits, like say for example, like if you're using a swim bait like this, you can't use a swim bait on like a medium or medium fast retrieve because it'll tend to roll to its side or blow out. So every single lure category sort of has that little twerk itself as far as a range of retrieves that it works the best under. Now that's one thing that you sort of have to learn that on your own as far as different type of the lure category, because topwaters, crankbaits, jigs, glide baits, swim baits, all that type of stuff they have little bitty things unique to themselves that you got to sort of learn. Maybe that's a topic for another video down the road. Now, let's talk in terms of a slow retrieve, medium retrieve, and a fast retrieve when you want to use that. To me, a lot of this has to do with the combination of the water clarity and the water visibility. Now, for the most part, this is sort of what you're going to have. I'm going to have the scale right here. If you have off-colored water, like stained water that is below, say that water temperature is below 55 degrees and the water's stained, water visibility may be less than 1.5 feet deep. In a situation like that, most of the time you're going to have to use some type of a slow retrieve. I don't care if it's a jig or a spinnerbait or a crankbait, a slower retrieve in that dirtier off-colored water. It gives them a chance with a little bit more, lethargy and, not quite as active in the dirty water. It gives them a chance to locate and catch and find that bait. On the other end of the spectrum, let's say you got gin clear water and the water temperature is 80 degrees. Two ends of the spectrum there. Gin clear water, water temperature 80 degrees, you're not going to catch hardly anything on a slow retrieve or even probably a medium retrieve. You're going to have to use a fast retrieve to generate that strike. You're going to have to fish your top waters faster, your crankbaits faster, you're going to have to hop your jigs higher off the bottom, you're going to have to work your jerkbaits faster. Just the very nature of the clarity, it gives those fish too good of a chance to look at it if you slow it down. If you try to fish a lure real slow in clear water, unless it's something like a little finesse worm or a shaky head or something like that, the fish are going to get too good of a look at it, and you do not want that. That's why you have to speed the retrieve up, and then everything else sort of falls in the middle. One end of the spectrum here, and say in the middle end of the spectrum, you got water temperatures of 65 degrees and you got 3 foot of visibility. That's the mid part. Then at that particular time, you have to adjust the speed of retrieve to the lure that you're using. Now, that is a very, very broad definition of it. And most of the time it works to some degree with that, but there's other variations that determine that as well. A lot of it has to do with like the light intensity, if it's cloudy or if it's sunny. A lot of times if it's cloudy, the fish maybe want the bait a little bit slower. If it's sunny, maybe a little bit faster. If the wind's blowing hard, a lot of times they want a faster retrieve. So there's situational things that go with that. And if it sounds like it's intimidating and a little complicated, it is. There's a ton of variables that add up to hitting upon that right retrieve. So overall, when you're trying to override all of this, what you want to do is you have to experiment day to day to see what type of retrieve those fish want, if it's a slow, medium, or fast. I have seen the situation I just described to you as far as the spectrums, the extremes on each end of the spectrum. I see those working about 75 to 80% of the time, but there's 20% of the time that it doesn't, that goes against all logic or reasoning, and they may want a slow retrieve in clear water, and they may want a fast retrieve in stained water. That's what I call the mood and the personality of the bass. Changes a lot, and a lot of times the mood and the personality of that bass changes with weather patterns. You're going to find most of the time, if you have a stable weather pattern, prefrontal stable weather pattern where you have a south wind or a southwest wind or a west wind, air temperature is a little bit warmer, most of the time they want a little bit faster retrieve. And if you have some type of a frontal system goes through, or you have some type of a situation where you have winds out of the east, north, or northwest, a lot of times they want that bait slowed down a little bit. Those are just generalities. Like I said, everything is unique to itself. Every situation is unique to yourself. Nevertheless, guys, when you're talking about generating strikes from artificial lures, it's not just the lure and it's not just the color that you have to figure out, but you have to figure out that speed of retrieve. That makes all the difference in the world. I have seen situations where, like spinnerbait fishing, if I did not work that spinnerbait at the exact right pace as far as the speed of retrieve, you'd never get a bite on it. If the spinnerbait's too shallow, if it's too deep, if it's coming through the water column too quick or too slow, they just won't hit it. So keep an open mind, experiment with it. It's like if you start getting some bites on whatever lure you're fishing, a crankbait, a spinnerbait, a topwater, whatever, and you know they're biting that lure, that is when you want to experiment. Say, for example, you've been catching a few fish on a crankbait with a medium retrieve. Try fishing that crankbait faster or slower or stop and go to maybe figure out the specific type of retrieve they want a little bit better. And again, like I said, try not to get intimidated, even though it is intimidating. Just keep an open mind and experiment. And if you just start out with those foundations that I just laid out with you guys there, that's a good place to begin with, and then just experiment on your own from there. So anyway, I hope it helps you guys out, and we'll check in later.